Alright, hey, what is up? My name is Sergey Ivanov and welcome to episode 4 of Snapshot, my series where I will take you through my photographic process from beginning to end. And let's just get right off to it. I can already tell this is going to be a short video, not as long as some of the other ones I do. This is going to be pretty brief, to the point. And so this week I'm going to tell you about photographing a location called Sportsman's Bait and Tackle. Spoiler alert, it was kind of a failure. Let me just put it out there. So I say that this is going to be a short video because usually when I do my episodes of Snapshot, I have this like big, long, elaborate story. Like this story begins back in the Stone Age when the rock formations were created. This time, no, this is a different story. Basically, what happened was me and my family, we went out for a day to go to a Kentucky lake. We were basically just boating, and on the way, we passed through Calvert City. That's the way you get to the boating dock that we go to. We passed this, bait and tackle shop called Sportsman's Bait and Tackle, and I thought, all right, maybe this would be a good location to photograph. Additionally, and this was a lower priority, I thought, all right, maybe I want to take a photo of, there's an old empty lot. I don't know what used to be there, but there's basically an empty parking lot with some signage, and so maybe that would be interesting for some minimalism and some simplicity. So I decided, all right, if I do have time to do that, I'll do that location as well, because it's, probably, a half mile away, so it's very, very close. To give some sort of context, I looked it up on Google Maps, and basically before every photo shoot, I do a little bit of research about the location. At the very least, after last episode, I'm going to be searching up whether it's safe to go there or not, because we would not like a repeat of last week. I research about, hey, what direction is it face, so I know what direction the sun's going to hit it on, whether it's going to be backlit or front lit, what side it's going to be on, sunset times, where it is, what are the most crowded times during the day. So I find a day when it's going to be relatively decent to take photos. I drive there. It's about a 30-minute drive from my house to Sportsman's Bait and Tackle in Calvert City. I drive there, and basically it was one of the most simple, to the point photo shoots that I've ever done. I drive there, I get to the empty lot first. I set up a composition that I think would be good. I take an exposure, I take a couple exposures. Actually, funnily enough, it was literally right next to a Subway. Just imagine this big open lot, very, old-timey, simple Americana style of photograph, and then right directly, if you literally shift it 90 degrees, there's a Subway right there. I pack everything back up, drive like literally 30 seconds to Sportsman Bait and Tackle, and again, this is one of the most quick, to the point, simple photo shoots that I've probably ever done. I basically park my car in a nearby store, walk over, set up my tripod, get an exposure reading, set my focus, set up a composition, and I take the photos, and literally in about 3 or 4 exposures, I'm done and I've got the shots. So I mean, that's it. Usually it's, I was thinking very hard, and I was thinking about the artistic significance of what I am doing for this piece of work right here. But no, I knew what I wanted from the photograph, and that's what I got. But then I started taking photos again, and then I see through the viewfinder the door to Sportsman's Bait and Tackle opens, and it's this old, gruffy looking man, white hair. He's wearing, basically southern fishing clothes, basically. He's got, a white gray beard. He looks like he's, worn from the years. He opens the glass door, doesn't even step out. He opens the glass door, and so I know that he is the owner of Sportsman Bait and Tackle, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to have a repeat of the situation from the last episode, which I do not want. I definitely do not want that to happen again. He opens the door, doesn't even walk outside. He opens the door and just sort of sticks his head out and goes, "Hey, are you a photographer?" And I go, "Yeah." And he just goes, "Okay, retreats back into the store and closes the door, and that was the full extent of the conversation that he had to me. So that definitely went way better than episode 3 at the motel. Way better. So that's pretty much it for the photo shoot. I get the exposures, everything was great, lighting was great, composition was great, so I pack everything up, and then I basically just go home. I develop the photos, and here are the photos. Alright, well, I say photos. There's one photo. I knew that this was pretty much going to be a one and done deal. I knew that this was the composition I wanted to take, and so this is the composition I took. Now, I like this. I think this is a good frame. It's not half bad. I do have some complaints, though. I do think it is very flat. There's not very much depth to the photo. It's very one-dimensional. It's basically just all of the boats, all of the trucks, the store, they're basically in the same plane of when you're looking at it in the frame. So I wish I had something to add a little more depth. One of the biggest issues that I can find is that it is very crowded. Now, I don't mind crowded frames. I would not consider myself a minimalist by any means. I know sometimes my photos are minimalist in their nature, but I wouldn't consider myself that. I don't mind if I have a crowded photo. In fact, if you look at some of my school work, some of the photos I've taken around my school, they are very crowded. They're not minimalist at all. So I don't mind something being crowded, but I think it doesn't really work, especially with what I mentioned before with the one-dimensionality. Also, and this is something I don't really ever get too hung up on because it's not that important to me, but I focused it when I was looking through the viewfinder. It looked fine when I was focusing it, but as you can see, if you get real close, it is just a teensy bit out of focus. I misfocused by just the smallest amount. But that is really nitpicky that I missed it by a small amount. So that's not the biggest concern for me. Now, one thing I definitely like about it is I think it was very good light. I went at a good time. I think the light was hitting the building in a very good way with the warm, glowing sunlight on the right side of the building. Everything was coming from that direction. I think that is very good. Another thing that I do like, it's a very small detail. You won't notice it right away, but if you look in the left corner, basically in the middle, you can see a little bit of a hilltop over that, and I think that adds a little bit of depth, whereas normally there would be no depth. It was all very flat and one-dimensionality. It adds some depth. It adds some nature into the photo. It adds a little bit of green. It adds a little bit of more interest to the composition. So I will say that. I think that was good. So unfortunately, I'd like to say that I'm really excited about this photo, but I'm not. Like, if I were to rate this photo, it's just a very bland 5 out of 10. I think things could have been done better, and I think that, you know, I just did not do my best on this one. So, I mean, I don't think that this was what I would call a failure of a trip, but I wouldn't call it a success either, in the same way that the Deluxe Inn was, where I think everything was just perfect. Now, I told you guys that I took another exposure, basically where the subway was, of an empty lot, and oh boy, when I saw the scans, and even when I tried my best to make it a good photo in Photoshop, it just was not doing it. I was just not happy with this photograph at all. I was going for the minimalist look, but then at the same time, I've got this random fence. Like, fence, get out of here. I don't like that. I've got 2 random sticks there. Sticks, get out of there. My envisionment of the frame was that it was basically just going to be the sign and the empty lot. Very minimalist. Unfortunately, due to basically how the sun, you can see there's a whole sun flare on the right side. Basically because of how the sun was, I basically had one place to stand, and it was right where I was standing for this composition. So I was extremely limited. Next time I would definitely go take this photo again from with less, flare into the lens so I could have more freedom, but also a more minimalist composition. But also, I just don't like the color. The color scheme doesn't look good. Like, it just doesn't match. It's gross. I don't like it. But then I had an idea, and it's something that I don't normally do. I'm not against it, but it's something I don't normally do. And I decided, just on a whim, what if I converted this to black and white? And I did that thinking, it would basically be the same. It wouldn't do much. And then I went into Photoshop and I did it. Dude, when I flipped it into grayscale in Photoshop, it was just like it was immediate. I realized, all right, this is a much better photo just by converting it to black and white. I think the black and white conversion just makes the photo, it makes it a lot better, in my opinion. I think the photo does not really work in color. It does work in black and white. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of black and white conversions from color film, just because of the quality, for one, because I think there is a loss of quality when you do that in terms of the image structure and the grain structure, things like that. I think there is a loss of quality. So the next time, I'm definitely going to go at a different time, have a more minimalist composition, and also I'm definitely going to shoot it on actual black and white film. So I think that's something I can learn. If anything, I went here for the Sportsman bait and tackle, but now that I converted this to black and white, I think as a black and white photo, this is even better than the Sportsman bait and tackle, in my opinion. So I think if anything, sometimes you're surprised with sometimes the photos that you take just to pass the time, those end up being better than the photo that you went to actually take. So I mean, lesson learned, sometimes that happens. Life works out that way sometimes. Alright, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I told you it was going to be a short video. It's probably relatively short in the broad scope of all the episodes of Snapshot I made. Thank you so much for tuning into Snapshot, and make sure to leave a comment, leave some feedback on what you think about the series. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel for videos every Friday, 12 p.m. noon Central Standard Time. Every other week it will be an episode of Snapshot, this series that you're watching now. In the weeks between that, it will be Sergey Speaks, my more funny videos. Also, make sure I just uploaded a video with the mayoral candidate in Paducah, DeJuan Thomas, and it is one of the best videos that I made in a long time, so definitely check that out. It's really good, I promise. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Servanov_, that is my photography account, and at Sergey_speaks, that's my comedy account, and where I post about my YouTube videos and things like that. Make sure also to listen to my podcast and follow that on Spotify. Every Friday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, you will get my podcast, The Sound of Sergey, my solo podcast. Make sure to follow that and listen to that on Friday every week on Spotify. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I love that you give me feedback. I love each and every one of you guys, and I will see you next week.